It's done out of ignorance sometimes, and sometimes it's done out of greed.
Believe me, there are indie labels asking for anything and everything they can get. So it's good as a songwriter to know what your rights are, to know how to protect yourself. Welcome, Songtown. Glad to be here today. I'm Clay Mills. Marty Dotson's with me, and we're
Woo!
going to play another, yeah, woohoo! We're going to play another round of surprise my cohort, my co anchor, my sponsor. No,
I don't know.
I don't need a sponsor, Marty.
No.
Um, we're going to play another game of I'm going to just throw something out and you won't know what I'm going to throw out and we'll get your reaction.
All
Um,
right.
and, you know, it got me thinking we get a lot of emails about the business side of songwriting and putting out records. And, when you and I were coming up, it was pretty easy because everybody played by one set of rules. And if you're a songwriter and you got to cut on an album, then the label sends you label copy, you sign off on it, or if you have a publisher, your publisher will send the label copy to the record label. And everybody kind of played by one set of rules. And today, with just the plethora of indie artists out there, I'm just surprised because it's like the Wild West all over
Yeah,
again. And
very
it's
much.
not really anyone's fault. Like, it's so easy to put out your own records and it's so easy to become your own publisher and your own record company and you're an indie artist, and so a lot of times you have no idea of the rules of the game. You don't know that when you're an indie artist and you put out a record and you've written that song with a songwriter who's not the artist, when you start selling product, you have to pay that writer. There's and so
Yeah.
we get a lot of these business questions. Believe me, there are indie labels asking for anything and everything they can get.
Yeah.
And so it's good as a songwriter to know what your rights are, to know what the laws are, to know how to protect yourself. So I'm going to throw out a couple of questions I've gotten recently.
Okay.
One person from Songtown emailed me and said, "I'm so excited. I got this artist that I co-wrote with, and they're putting my song out on their new EP. And they just sent me an invoice for asking me to pay for the mixing and mastering for my share of the mixing and mastering." What do you think of that, man?
Well, I think a lot of times that, like you said, it's done out of ignorance sometimes, and sometimes it's done out of greed. And I think it's important to figure out what's going on in this scenario. But if when a song is released, there's basically two sides of that song that are going to earn money. There's a master recording side, and there's a songwriter publisher side. And those things are not paid equally on streaming. So songwriter publishers get paid a lot less than the master side.
Yeah.
Typically, like you were talking about in the old days, the record label was going to pay for the recording and they were going to own that master recording, or the artist was going to pay for that recording and own it. If they're asking the songwriters to pay for part of that, then the songwriters legally own part of that master, which is great for the songwriter. It means more income, a bigger piece of the pie. But oftentimes those artists or labels are not aware of that, so they're going to try to bill you, and then they're going to claim that they own the master 100%. So what I
Well,
would
you know
do
what
in
it
that,
is, Marty. They're asking you to fund their product, to fund their
right?
project. And that's not the songwriter's job is not to fund the record for the artist because the songwriter doesn't own any of that project typically.
Yeah.
So unless they're offering you a piece of the artist's career, then why would you want to invest in that artist? They're asking you
Well,
basically to be an investor in their record.
and that's why I say if you're going to invest in their record, you need to own part of it.
Yes.
And so there's been times where I would have happily done that if I owned that, my 50% of the master, because I feel
Right.
like I'm going to recoup that money more quickly on that side. And as you alluded to earlier, a lot of artists don't even understand that if they print up CDs or if they're selling any kind of physical product of that song, they need to pay those writers. There's a statutory rate that they have to pay. And,
Mhm.
the artists that I write with that are independent, what they do is if they print up 1,000 CDs, they pay me for my percentage of the songs I have on there up front. But all
Well,
that
that
stuff,
is the law. The law
yeah,
says, pertaining to CDs, if a record company prints up 1,000 CDs, at that point when they print them, they need to pay you your percentage, and that percentage is set by Congress. It's set,
yeah,
you know, it's a weird system, but yes, it's a legal law that if CDs are printed up, you have to pay the songwriter, whether you
yeah,
sell those or not. And
yeah,
so, that's what a lot of people don't know. And, it's less important these days because less and less CDs are being sold, although vinyl records are taking off, and the same thing applies to
mhm,
vinyl records.
yeah,
If you have a bluegrass cut and they print up, um, 5,000 vinyl records and sell them, then you're gonna get paid, your 9 what is it, 9.25 cents per
mhm,
song on each record.
yeah. And I think too, every now and then an artist or like an independent artist comes up with a great idea. Hey, I'll just get my co-writers to pay for these demos, and then I'll release the demo as my master because
Yeah,
home recording is so good these days and all that kind of stuff. And those artists need to be educated. You can't do that.
yeah,
If you're asking me or my publisher or anybody else to help pay for your project, they own part of that project.
yeah.
And that's not typically what most artists want. So once you educate them about that, typically they'll go, "Wait, let me go back to the drawing board on my great idea. Maybe I can't do it that way." So they either need to fund their recording 100% and own it 100%, or they need to work it out with the writers to share in their share of each recording, and they own that percentage of the master.
I know. All this sounds complicated, but it's really not. If you guys ever have a question about it, you can always email us at songtown.com, just team at songtown.com. We're always happy to answer questions. Marty, I got another question.
Okay.
Um, an artist just recorded my song, and
Congratulations.
yeah, man, I feel great about it. And what do I need to do? Do I need to register the song with ASCAP, or does the record company register that song for me?
Yeah, you don't ever wanna count on somebody else to register your stuff properly, and there's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of reasons why. So, there's a major publisher in Nashville that every time the female Marty Dodson writes with one of their writers, they register it under me, which is great for me, but not for her. And so many times I go in and they've got their writers registered correctly, but they don't have me registered correctly because
Right,
they're just worried about getting their money. So
right.
what you need to do is either hire an admin person, and there's companies like Song Trust that do admin. There's a bunch of companies in Nashville and all over the world that do admin. You can hire somebody like that, or you can kind of take it on yourself. If you take it on yourself, you just have to learn how to register a song with your PRO. First, you need to be registered as a publisher and a writer with that
With
PRO.
ASCAP, with a PRO being your
Yeah,
performance rights
yeah,
organization, which ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC are the big 3 options in the United States. SOCAN
yeah.
in Canada, like every country kinda has their own performance rights
Yeah.
organization.
So, if you learn how to do that, it's not all that difficult to do. But then you can go on in and make sure that it's right on your account. And the other thing I do is if my co-writer, let's say I'm at CSAC and let's say my co-writers are at BMI and ASCAP, I'm going to go on BMI and ASCAP and make sure that they've got it registered correctly too, because I want my money coming to me from all the right places. And
Right.
then the other thing you would do is register it with Harry Fox Agency, which covers mechanicals. If you do those 2 things, if you register with your PRO and with Harry Fox in the US, you're gonna get probably 95 or more percent of your money.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm very proactive. So if I write with an artist, and they show an interest in maybe putting the song out, even before they tell me, "Oh, it's gonna be released," or anything, I usually go and register all the information on ASCAP myself so that I
Mhm.
can be on record with it being right first. I don't wait for them to mess it up, and then I have to email ASCAP and say, "Hey, this is wrong, change it."
Yeah,
I just go in there and register it myself and try to just get a leg up on it. So it's not that hard to do if you know, all you need to do on your co-writing session, get your co-writer's info, you know. And
yeah,
if you have all that info, you can go on the ASCAP site if you're ASCAP like I am, and I just enter in everybody's info. Takes me a few minutes, and you're good to go on the ASCAP side. That collects all your streaming royalties, your radio airplay, um, TV show airplay. And
mhm,
then, like Marty said, for mechanicals, which is your CDs and records and things like that, physical product, you register with Harry Fox and they collect that. So it's
yeah,
really just you register it in two places and you're pretty much good to go for
yeah.
most of the money that you would see anyway from a product.
And it sounds like, Clay, you're not only proactive, you're PRO active because you go to your PRO. And well, the reason he said that too is because the the first entry for that song is going to be like it's going to be harder to change that later
Yeah,
than it is to just get it right the first time. So if you have all that information from your co-writers and you can enter it correctly, then nobody's going to be messing around with it and trying to change it. And it, then it gets wonky and they hold on to the money till they figure it out. So it's really good to be the first to the party with that stuff if you know all the information to get it right. But you
absolutely.
want to be sure that your co-writer's information and all that stuff is right. But if you get them to put it in the Google Doc like I do, then you've typically got all that information.
Okay, guys and gals, if this seemed confusing at all to you, I get the comment from a lot of our Songtown members. They'll email me and go, "Hey, I wrote with someone today that was talented, but they're not in Songtown and they have no clue how the business works. They have no clue how to co-write properly. They have, and so if you're interested in all and learning how to co-write, how to write better songs, how to have a pro mindset, how to have understand the business. Marty and I, we built Songtown to help you. And our members will tell you that it really gives them a greater understanding. If they ever have questions, they have someone to ask. And we'll be glad to help you. If you join Songtown, we'll be glad to help you level up. And pretty much, I like to think of Songtown as a farm system, like baseball. Like we're the farm system for the real music business. We teach you how the business works. Our members have gone on to write number one songs in pop and country, and we love that. We love seeing our members succeed. So check out songtown.com. Behind me, you will see, if you're watching this on YouTube, my entire studio. Woo!
Lots of money back
um,
there.
I've got way too much gear. I can tell you it all came from Sweetwater. And yes, they sponsor us, but I was bragging about Sweetwater long before they became a sponsor.
Yeah,
They have great customer service. Marty's got all those gold records behind him back there, and his Sweetwater gear had a hand in that too. So
I guess it is.
we love Sweetwater.
Yes, we do.
Well,
Check out the show notes for links to our books on co-writing, melody, and lyric writing. For information about Songtown. And like Clay said, you can email us team at Songtown anytime and we'll try to help you with whatever we can.
absolutely. Cheers, y'all.